Tell us about where we are now and where we're going.
Yeah, sure. So globally, we are at about 40% penetration. That means about 40% of consumer purchases are made using a card or a digital form.
So it's not just 40% of consumers can use it, but actually 40% of purchases are being done cashless?
Exactly. Yep. It's about 13 trillion out of about 30 trillion in consumer purchases are done over some sort of card or other digital form of payment.
And we're showing right now a chart that you created for us about by country how it's grown. It's projected to grow.
Yes, exactly. So it varies quite a bit by country. So if you look, the U.S. is at around 60% penetration. Countries like Canada are in the mid 70s. We're expecting, but then you see places like India, for example, is less than 10. And over the next 5 years, we're expecting card penetration to continue gaining at 2.5 to 3 points per year, and we should be up in the mid 70s in the U.S. within about 5 years.
Fast forward to me, sort of the distinction between then cards versus digital, because I have to be honest with you, I have forgotten my wallet so many times, and I'm now paying with Apple Pay with most of my purchases, something I never thought that I'd do. Make the distinction of where the growth can be for those kind of payments.
Yep. So the vast majority of the growth is on card or some sort of card-like vehicle, but a lot of times it's not the physical card, it's a digital card stored. So probably in Apple Pay, you've got either a credit card or a debit card or a prepaid card there. And then, you know, there's little variance on that in some places, like in China with Alipay, Tenpay. Those aren't exactly cards. They're more like a stored balance. It's almost like a mini digital bank account being stored there. But, you know, so occasionally it's something different, but the vast majority of them are some sort of card vehicle.
So just so I make sure I understand, if I go on Amazon and I've stored my card in there and I just click on the button because that counts as a card sale?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
So, and soon if I go to some other merchant online, e-commerce, and they ask me to put my card information in, that goes through as a card?
Absolutely. Yep, exactly.
I see. So a lot of this must be growth of just e-commerce, period.
Exactly. Yes, yes. There's a handful of accelerators. E-commerce is a huge one because e-commerce is growing 17% globally and is now, you know, and is virtually all cards, like 100% card. There's no cash.
Well, let's talk to someone who decided to go cashless, and that's Leo Kremer, Toros co-founder. Leo, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, in your restaurants, if I go and I want to pay with $5, I can't actually do that.
That's true.
Why'd you decide to do that?
You know, we're looking for any way to save time that we can. I think time is a finite resource, especially time for our leadership. And cash takes up a lot of time, especially as it becomes a diminishing percentage of total transactions. It was roughly 10% already, kind of organically, before we made the move. And we felt like, you know, it took so much time to count after each, you know, the lunch shift and the dinner shift, and setting up the drawer and dealing with the armored cars and buying change and writing the wrong number on a deposit slip. There's a lot of complexity that goes with it. And we felt like if we could save that complexity and time for our leaders, because invariably it's your most senior person in the restaurant dealing with the cash, instead they can be out on the floor, interacting with the team, interacting with guests, and ultimately helping you deliver more hospitality.
Leo, how much of it is a question of the demographics of your clientele? I mean, do you typically have, let's be frank about it, younger people coming there?
Somewhat, but it's a pretty mixed bag in terms of our guests. I think we just followed their lead. We were already at 10% in terms of kind of 90% cards, 10% cash before we made the switch. And of that 10%, effectively everyone was just kind of using cash from force of habit because it's a small-ish transaction and people kind of do that automatically sometimes.
What were the problems that you noticed?
There weren't a bunch of problems really with it. I mean, the problem really is just that certain people feel like, you know, it's they don't agree with the decision, and so you've got to be sensitive and thoughtful. And you know, if a couple guests don't have cash, that's fine. You just comp the order and make it right for them, and just treat it from a place of generosity and trying to explain your reasoning.
So Lisa, there are always winners and losers. As you look at this movement that you're tracking overall globally, I mean, besides armored car companies, I mean, who are the possible losers as you go to this cashless society?
Yeah, so, I mean, the armored trucks are certainly one of them, and any companies out there still printing physical checks is certainly another one. But generally speaking, payments is one of those interesting global trends. that is generally good for society. Actually, generally we all win. It's useful. It drives out corruption, drives up tax revenue, helps with financial inclusion. So it is a funny secular trend in that way, in that there aren't winners and losers so much. It's usually, generally, all winners.
Oh, okay, all winners, but at the same time, aren't we putting, so to speak, all of our eggs in one basket? It really makes us prone to hacking, for example. It seems like every week, if not every day, we see a news story about a hack.
Yeah, that's true. Security is certainly the biggest concern when you move into a digital payments world, for sure. Security, I mean, and the onus is on the payment system to continue to raise the bar. I mean, the security parameters they put in place are, military-like in nature.
Well, similar question, right? So you don't have armored cars, so you're saving on that, right? You don't have that security breach, but you have another type of security breach. How do you prepare yourself against that?
I mean, certainly from a digital security perspective, we have an awesome director of IT, and he is on the ball. But, we tokenize all the credit card information at the point of sale, and it's encrypted immediately. We don't hold on to anything. So in terms of like PCI compliance with credit card data or debit card data, we are, I think, as good as we can be.
Leo, do you have any overall sense of how many of your purchases are made with a physical card, Visa, MasterCard, as opposed to Apple Pay, for example, or some other form of payment?
Square. Mm-hmm.
Square.
We actually don't accept Apple or Android Pay yet. We're working on it, but our POS is still figuring that integration out with the NFC reader. So we're all cards.
So it's all cards.
But at some point, you're looking to get into the other types. What you feel would be the most efficient for your business? Is it an Apple Pay? Is it PayPal? What would be something you'd be looking into?
I mean, whatever the guest finds to be most convenient for them in digital form. Ideally, we're agnostic, and it's Apple Pay, or it's Android Pay, or it's Bitcoin Pay, or whatever it is. And as long as we can just be kind of, digital about it.